Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Well This Morning with your very own and the super energetic, the super amazing Shahzad Khan, and with Shahzad, you happen to have Shiza Hashmi. Jummah Mubarak. I really hope all of you are going to have an amazing day and an even amazing weekend ahead. How are you doing, Shahzad?
I'm doing absolutely perfect. Thank you very much, Shiza, for such a beautiful introduction as well. We are, I believe, ecstatic. We are full of energy, and it's because of the fact that you're finally back over here as well. And we kept on praying for you and for your health as well. Alhamdulillah, it's so good to have you back because I'm going to share it from the bottom of my heart that, you know, when you're a team and you work as a team, so, you know, if one or two of the members are missing, which we are habitual of, you know, one of the member is usually missing. Not on screen, but off screen. But what happens is that, you know, that even if, you know, we talk about our own screen chemistry, this is what people actually long for as well. And a lot of people have written to me that, you know, why is Ma'am Shiza not coming? So finally, she's over here. She's doing very well, alhamdulillah, as well. And that's exactly what we hope for her and for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen. But not just that. So Shiza, I was so unfortunate. You know, I actually have a surprise for Shiza. Shiza didn't share it with me, but somebody else did. So it was very unfortunate of me since I was traveling quite a lot, and, you know, so I had kind of got into backache and, you know, muscle spasm, so I'm not going to my gym. But just yesterday, somebody told me that you have started to work out and you went for your yoga class. Wow, that's something very interesting for somebody.
Who is this someone?
Imagine that I have been telling her that, you know, working out will actually release your stress, anxiety, and whatever it is, you know, all your problems will go away. So eventually, Shiza decided to go to a yoga class, and that to somebody who happened to know me as well. And then she was like, hey, you know what, your co-host was here. And I was like, really? I mean, is she into yoga? And she was like, I believe that it was her first class as well, but congratulations that you started to work out. And I believe that you're going to get better, way better from here onwards, inshallah. But what made you think that you're going to go to a yoga class?
All right. Well, first of all, yes, I just started.
Are you taken by a shock as well that how do I know?
I am. I'm like, okay, Islamabad is such a tiny place. I mean, everyone knows everyone. But yes, yes, I just started it. It was my second class.
Wow.
But I think, Shahzad, where you always kept telling me that you need to work out. So while I did listen to you, I felt like at that moment, working out for me meant probably gaining or losing weight, which was, of course, faulty at my part. But for this moment, because I just didn't have anything to do with, I didn't want to work around my body weight probably, or I didn't have a body goal to get to. I just wanted control or a balance of my own self in terms of probably, well, I read about meditation and about yoga specifically, and it told how you can have a, well, breath control and then eventually a control over what you think, where you put your energies to, where you put your thoughts to. And I was like, I have to do this, I have to do this. But it was so much fun. And, surprisingly, I was so, well, I wasn't bad at it. And I thought I would be.
Alhamdulillah, well, that's wonderful. I mean, this is something which I didn't ask them whether, you know, your form was all right or not.
Yeah, I had fun.
And, you know, when they actually shared it with me, I was like, did you kind of have a conversation with her as well? And then they were like, no, we didn't actually have a conversation. I was like, you should have, you know, she's a friendly person to talk to as well. But I'm glad that you finally, you know, went across and made sure that you're going to work on yourself, and whatever you need to control, we hope and pray that you were able to control it as well. But not just that.
Thank you.
On number two, the surprise was that, you know, that there was this one day we were shooting in a gym, me and Shiza, and we actually had to do some workouts for all of you people who were out there who were doing these new fun segments. And Shiza shows up in this velvet suit, and she was like, and she's like, oh, you know what, since I do not work out, so I really do not have any workout clothes as well. So what did you do for yoga? Did you go in your velvet outfit for the yoga as well? Because thinking about it, it makes me look, it kind of, you know, looks a little bit funny.
Well, I couldn't go in my velvet suit. I'd love to because it's summer now. I went to Nike.
Oh, wow.
I had to, right?
That's
because I thought if you're going for something proper now, I should be dressed properly for it, right? I mean, I couldn't go in my velvet suit. But that was just on a lighter note. And I think let's take this forward as a message of something is contributing towards your well-being, your wellness. Go about it, because in the end of the day, it's literally all about you. And I'm not saying this in terms of selfish means. I'm saying this because only if you are healthy within and from your outer self, only then you can be good for the people around you, right?
Exactly. Wow, that's wonderful, and that's a wonderful message as well. And, you know, but I have a very different take on it.
Okay.
So my take on it is that, so whenever I go to the gym, I would wear any shorts. I'm going to find all my old T-shirts are out there in one row.
Okay.
So, I'm going to take anyone out and just go to the gym as well. So, and I've seen a lot of people who've invested onto their outfits, onto their joggers, and they match them. But I haven't seen those people working out as well. So they're just more focused on how good they're looking in the gym. So rather than looking good in the gym, you are there to construct your body so that you can look good on the outer side of the gym as well. So this is something which is required. Number two, we have a public service message where I came across a lady bike rider, once, and I believe it's 1 or 2 years ago as well. And all of a sudden, out of shock and out of excitement, I started to film her as well. And then eventually I thought that, hey, you know what, I really haven't asked the lady whether she's comfortable with me posting the video up. So I deleted the video, and then I wanted to share it as a message, because just today when we came to the office, our producer Jamshed Sahab was like, you know what, I love being a Pakistani and how things are changing in this incumbent government where women are so safe to drive or ride their motorbikes, out on the streets as well, which I believe is a wonderful task. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared. It's not a shock, and it's a cultural transition basically. And for any lady over here in Pakistan, if she's actually riding a motorbike, first of all, we need to think about it that it might be because of a necessity in the first place, and then later on we can talk about luxury, or if the bike looks like as if somebody's riding it for luxury purposes, it's very different. So please make sure that you do not video any lady riding a bike outside without their consent.
That is absolutely important to discuss right now that it's normalizing, and yes, I think we need to accept it. And if you feel like you need to probably share their story, ask for consent, like you already mentioned. But speaking of the incumbent government trying to change cultural norms for the better, always remember that it's nothing controversial or nothing negative in a way. It's always for the betterment of the society. So this was last month, Shahzad, when our president was actually in conversation with ulama from different areas of Pakistan, and well, it was interesting for me to learn that he wanted them to sort of incorporate some very important messages in their Jummeh ka khutbah, which is a very essential thing for every Muslim out there, not only in Pakistan, in every part of the world, right? So I feel like basically it's such a beautiful thing from our religion that once in every 7 days, Allah's message will be conveyed to you again to reiterate about whatever the message was in case you forget.
Exactly.
So the president asked them to inculcate, issues regarding women's inheritance in their Jummeh ka khutbah, so that people know what actually Islam and the law eventually tells us as well. He also wanted them to talk about different things like, I mean, a number of things, of course.
And that's wonderful. And I would like to contribute over here to what you're saying, and that is that, that for all of those people who are out there, for all of those ulamas who are out there who are actually disseminating this information on Jummeh ka khutbah, I want you people to please move on from how many who's we are going to get in heaven, or what benefits we're going to get in
that
heaven.
fact every Muslim man remembers.
Yeah, I believe that everybody needs to kind of talk about what our life revolves around as well, so that we can have those easy solutions to ourselves in the wake of Quran, obviously. And this is something which we want. But not just that, ladies and gentlemen, today we're actually focusing on women inheritance and, the laws, what the Sharia says, what the Constitution of Pakistan says, and what laws do we have in place, and how do we create awareness amongst all of those women who are out there who are actually ripped off their right to get whatever their father or mother left behind for them as well. And to talk about that, we have a legendary figure over here in the studios. He's a great guy. Whenever we are in conversation with him, we get to learn something. Ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be a religious scholar. He's a lawyer himself as well, a very senior one. He is Dr. Aslam Khaki Sahab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you.
Inviting me.
So first things first, and that is that what does the law state about inheritance, made be man or woman?
Start with Sharia law and then...
Yeah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. If you study the history, you will find that the people have been slave of their culture, their cultural values, more than even the religion. So, and at the same time, we see that the civilization of a society can be judged by its attitude or behavior toward the marginalized groups, like minorities, child, women, and other marginalized groups. So, like a civilized society, Islam also promoted the rights of the women. And particularly, we are talking about the rights in their property.
Yep.
Quran clearly says, "Lirojali nasibu mim maktasabu, walil nisai nasibu mim maktasab." Whatever the men earn, it is for them,
Okay.
and whatever the women earn, it is for them. So that gives two principles. Number one is that women can work for earning, iktasabu, whatever
Yes.
they earn. So there is a permission or provision there. And number two is she will be the she will have the rights for that earning. She can spend it. She can be the owner. But in our society, we see that the people, they use the women in many ways. They take the labor, as you say, that the domestic labor, working at the home, in the fields, but that is unpaid labor.
Unaccounted for.
Yeah, they don't have the property rights. Then we see the life of the Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. She was a business lady.
Yes.
Again, being a business lady gives two principles. Number one, that the women can earn, and she continued even after the declaration of the prophethood by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And number two is she can hold the property. So in with that scenario, we see that Islam gave the property rights to the women. And that is Quran, Surah Nisa is very much clear on it, and it needs no repetition. But in our Indo-Pak, if we see the history of the Indo-Pak, you would be just surprised to note that before the promulgation of one law which was introduced by the British government, there was a rivaj in the property rights was prevalent. Whenever a person was at the deathbed and he was leaving a property, the nambardar of that area used to come to him and ask him that whether he is going to allow his property to be distributed as per custom or as per Sharia.
Okay.
And we noted, and it is on the record, that 90% of the people used to say as per custom. It means that deprive the women from the property rights. And they took their last breath by reciting kalma, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and the people just believe that he will go to the paradise. I say, no, he has died on kufr, because in the contrast to the Sharia, he has said that custom. So he has committed kufr. So that way we see that Islam gave the right. But salute to the British government that for the first time they promoted and promulgated the Shariat Application Act 1937, by which it was just provided that the property of the Muslims and all the matter relating to their personal law, that is the marriage, divorce, inheritance, that would be regulated by their Sharia. So after that, it is incumbent legally as well as per Sharia was already there to divide the property according to Sharia.
Okay, so the law is there, even according to Sharia, and you said that, the Britishers did it as well and they adopted for it. I believe it's wonderful, and to have such laws in place, under the umbrella of Sharia, I believe is greater too as well. But it's going to have an impact once we start to practice it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there are a lot of people who try to justify it by not giving whatever the lady was supposed to inherit. And what they do is, in a lot of rural areas over here in Pakistan, in fact, there are a lot of influential families who are very political, they have political backgrounds. But once they're getting their daughter or sister married, what they do is that they'll give them 5 cows, 1 car, probably whatever, dowry includes of as well. And then they will rip them off their right to inheritance. Do you think that it is justified in one way or the other, even if the dowry was somewhat around 5 crore rupees, for example, or 50 million, for people to understand it better? Do you think that we can actually take this right away from any woman, sister, mother, maybe anybody?
Naturally not, neither in Sharia nor in law. So there were different modes of deprivation of women from the property rights. Number one, that even in the Sindh and in the central areas of Punjab, the people did not marry their sisters or daughters. And they said that we have married them with Quran. It was very much popular. Quran se shadi kar di. That is totally un-Islamic, not only un-Islamic, but even to say immoral. The Quran is a book of guidance, and he is not a male. So, and number two was that when they used to marry the girls, their daughters or sisters, they used to just withdraw their property rights from them. They signed that, and that was transferred back because she is going in a different family. So there are, and even at the time of marriage, even after that, even if the property is there, and that is in the name of my sister, I used to ask my sister to surrender her rights in my favor out of love. A case came, such type of case came to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Mr. Afzalullah Sahab was presiding the court.
Okay.
He asked the brother that why did your sisters, without any consideration, transfer the property in your name? They said that out of love, it is culture, that out of love, the sister, they give their property to their brothers. Then just Abdullah said in a very smiling face, he said, why always the love flows from the brother, sisters to the brother and not vice versa? So it is just one thing we call blackmailing, that is by pressure. And other thing is I use the term white mailing, to playing with the emotions of the people to blackmail their love. If my sister loves it, I'm white mailing her.
Yeah.
So this is white mailing, I say, and it is worse than blackmailing.
Right.
You
definitely.
can't see it even. That is.
And you're so right. It happens all the time, and I feel like right now, even if we are creating awareness, of course, Shahzad and I are learning. People who might be watching are learning, but people in the far-flung areas of Pakistan who might not even be watching the show, I hope this message does get to them some way. That well, this is what the right is. Now, Dr. Saab, just recently, I think there is a sort of some changes going on in the Women Property Rights Bill that is going to be presented soon. What do you think are some of the things that will be touched upon in that particular bill? What is it bringing for the women in Pakistan that wasn't there before?
Yeah, the property, it is just providing a speedy and workable solution to the property rights. Even the property rights were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even it is in the Article 23, that the property rights would be for all the citizens. They can hold the property whether male or female. But there was no effective mechanism. So, as we say, that domestic violence was already prohibited in law, but no effective mechanism. Now the Domestic Violence Act and all these are bringing an effective mechanism to achieve the goal. So that bill, which is just before the Senate, and now Senate has made some amendments, it's back to the Parliament, maybe it will be passed within fortnight, which we are guessing. That provides an effective mechanism, that if a female feels and she applies, she need not to go to the civil court, because you know that in your civil courts, Diwani Adalat Diwana kar deti hain. So it's so lengthy procedure.
Definitely.
So that would be that she would make an application to the DCO or DC Deputy Commissioner.
Okay.
And within 15 days, he will just see the situation and would, because it is all documentary evidence, and then would ask the revenue record, which is under him, to transfer the property back to the female, or if it is in the name of the female and they are not giving the property the brother, then he can just dispossess his. People are getting awareness. I know, I belong to Muzaffargarh, which is very famous for the violation of the women rights. Like
we are neighbors. I'm from.
Yeah, Muhtara Mai and other
Of course,
cases. But there are good examples there. I know a person, he came to me that my mother just transferred all the property to us brothers, depriving the women. But my sisters, I want to give them back. He gave his share, which was of crore, to the women. He's writing on behalf, fighting on behalf of his sisters against his brother, that the property should go even. So the law should be there. What I think is that the property which has been given in violation of the adl, that should be revoked by law, as Quran, Sharia also provides. There is a good example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that a person came to the Holy Prophet ﷺ who used to come on horse, but there was no horse with him. The Prophet asked him, where is your horse? He said that I have gifted it to my son. The Prophet inquired that, did you give it to all your gifted, to all your sons and others? He said no. The Prophet said, revoke it, because it is against the justice. So any financial transaction which is against the justice, even if made by the parent, should be revoked by law. And even in this case.
So this is something which I wanted to ask about as well, that for example, you know, obviously things can be always very tricky, and not everybody has got a great support system or a family system as well. And you know, there are people who might not like their parents for a reason, or the parents might not like their son or daughter because of whatever their actions may probably be. So imagine that, you know, getting back a step, and that is that, you know, imagine, so the parents weren't really happy with whoever their son was. Maybe he was living abroad for 20 years, 25 years, didn't actually come back to Pakistan to ask about their health or to inquire about their health. But as soon as he gets to know that, okay, there's a division happening within the property of the family, he takes a flight, comes back, and he gets to know that, oh, my parents have actually not given me even a
Penny.
penny, yeah. So, do you think that there's any law in place under the umbrella of Sharia where we can revoke that, and that particular child can actually get his or her whatever portion he gets in the property or inheritance?
So as far as, because under the Sharia Application Act, the rights are determined by the fiqh of that sect in which it is. So as far as the gift is concerned, that is of two types. One is gift without any consideration, and the other is gift with consideration. If my parents have gifted me some property against my services or against something, for example, they said that I would look after them, I would pay them maintenance allowance and all that, I would take them to Hajj, or I would get my sisters married on my expenses. So this gift cannot be revoked and should not be revoked, because it is hibba bil iwaz, it is called gift against some consideration, whether it is of the services or not.
Okay.
Same case is with my family, that my younger brother, we all other two brothers moved to the cities. My younger brother, he served my parents because they were also running a madrasa. He served them, and he could not get the chance of moving to urban areas. He lived in the town of that madrasa, and he served my parents. So they gave him one house. That's appropriate, and that is valid, and it should be.
Okay.
So if it is against some consideration, it's okay. And if it is only for the love for the males, it should not be just valid.
No, but I mean, you saying that it should not be valid is something which we cannot probably kind of prove according to the law. That's what you're trying to say, right?
No, but
Because
circumstances can.
what I'm trying to ask is, sir, that for example, the parents didn't like two of their children. They had like 10 children. So 8 got the inheritance, but the 2 of them didn't get anything. And it was obviously dependent on their parents to kind of give whatever they want to give to their kids, right?
Yeah.
So if 2 of them were stripped of their right and they didn't get any share, but the 8 of them did because they were favorites of their parents, do you think that those kids can actually still get their share within the inheritance?
As per law, they can't. But
can't.
morally, they are wrong. But
Oh.
this is the situation. Because when you gift out or give some property in your own life, and
Because it
that
was
was
mine,
your
I
property.
can give it to whoever
yeah.
I want.
As in Europe, there is will.
Exactly. So now there's a second layer to it, and that is that, for example, one of the parent passes away, unfortunately, for anybody. If one of the parent passes away and he was the one who actually made all the property and he was the sole owner and proprietor of the property, but now the property goes to the mother or the father, whoever's living, and they have their certain specific favorites as well within the family. So then do you think that that the kids can actually go to the court and be like, hey, you know what, whoever actually owned the property passed away, but now the other parent who's living is actually a little biased and they have given all the property to the other kids, and we have been ripped off our rights.
As per law, they cannot go. But morally, they should. But I say that there should be a law.
Yeah.
The property, I was asked by some friend in this way that even in the right of this women rights, I say that the sisters by moral and by Sharia law should not surrender their right of which has been given by their parents or they have just inherited after their death to their brother on one principle. That is, whatever I inherit I inherited it. The principal inheritance is for me or for my children, not for my brothers.
Yes.
So inherit whatever I have earned, I have the discretion. But what I have inherited from my parents, inheritance is for my sustenance, maintenance, and for my children. What I have been born from and what I have just given the birth to the people, that is the nasab. That is for them. So nobody can gift out. And that can be changed through law, or legislation can be made on this principle.
Okay.
That this was given to you for your maintenance.
Yeah, so now you have
whatever
to
you
give it
have
to
earned,
us.
that's free. If you have earned lakhs of rupees from your service, you have the discretion. But whatever you have inherited from your parents, you can't just spend it except on yourself, on your family, and family means your children.
That is absolutely brilliant, but sometimes there's a different side to it. And when we're talking about Pakistani family system, if you are married, in some unfortunate cases, Dr. Saab, there would be an unsaid understanding that if the wife is bringing her property through her parents, maybe I have a right on it, maybe from the husband, maybe from the in-laws. You clearly did say that only the wife has the right on it. Yeah. But what do we do in terms of such expectation or question ke ab tum le aayi ho to it's ours? It does happen in some
Or
house.
probably if she's the second wife or the third wife, you know, and they have their own children as well, you know, so how the situation is going to vary.
So this should be checked by law even, though morally it should be checked, but because it is a custom and she feels free and the people expect from her after marriage particularly. So the second point is that it would be reciprocal. If I start giving my sisters her right of the property, then my wife would also bring that property, but it would happen when the whole society just accept it as a custom. Right. So it is on the reciprocity. Nobody would be just, and as far as even the dowry will be discouraged. I would not demand dowry. The people demand dowry because they feel that she will be deprived of her inheritance property from her. So whatever we can get, we can blackmail at the time of marriage in terms of dowry.
No, but Dr. Sab, sorry if I'm cut, but you already said that whatever the woman will bring, she has her ownership on it.
Yeah.
Then why would someone think that? Jesse, you're saying that if she brings, she either has to bring dowry or she either has to bring her inheritance. How is it going to benefit the person or the house or the family if the women own
it? It's different. The man actually needs to share it with the rest of the family.
Yeah,
but women, it's not compulsory for her to share it.
Yeah.
This
is the difference.
It's that simple. So why would people fight
and one last question, sir, before we wrap up this segment, and that is that, for example, you know, people these days, there's a trend that people are marrying twice or thrice as well. And eventually what happens is with men, you know, so whoever is going to marry the latest, you know, they'll probably be in their love as well. And
the most.
And what if they kind of give all their property to the third wife only? Do you think that the first two wives will actually have a chance, or probably somebody is going to listen to them in the court? Sir, Mr.
Shazad, what is your intention behind that question?
Sir, I'm just asking whether all of those women who married that guy in the first place or the second place, not in the third place, because the third place one actually took everything away. But the first one and the second one, do they have the right to go to the court and ask for what is theirs?
16 and 116.
What if they don't? That's what I'm asking.
No, but they do.
Do they?
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can fight for it.
Right.
Yeah, they can fight for it. And the other thing is that the problem is that we do not give the right of earning or that the share in the property for the wages, for the work which the women does as a domestic work or unpaid labor in the field. So if it is recognized, it can raise the property rights even in the property of their husbands. They can earn more than their inherited right of 1/8 or that.
Wow.
So that should be supported. And I supported that domestic work they should be. And I am going to file a Shariat petition before the Federal Shariat Court that this law should be changed. And if a person dies, he should be, or divorces his wife, she can inherit the property in the case of death, and or she can get the dower plus the wages for the work she has done 30 years, 35 years in the house. As Quran says that, because she can be paid.
Yes,
and sir, it's wonderful, and you know, we would actually want you to kind of write our program's name as well, because this is where you came across this thought. So I believe that will be wonderful. But thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us. Dr. Aslam Khaki, ladies and gentlemen, he's one of a kind. He's always making sure that, you know, everybody out there stays in that balance which Allah has actually created for us. And if there's anything you need to ask from him, we're going to make sure that we share his contacts on our Facebook page or our Twitter page as well. But now we are actually heading out towards a short. It's not always elderly, but yes, you know, one way or the other. But now we're going to come down to youngsters, and what kind of problems they're facing is something which we want to discuss. So we're going towards a
very short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to World This Morning. Jummah Mubarak. Again, do not forget to recite a lot of the Rood Sharif today. And then remember us in your prayers, Shahzad as well, and me too. Well, in this segment, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a ride because, well, Pakistan is definitely taking a ride towards betterment, full prosperity, and this time we are making sure that we engage the youth in it, which I think we should have done before. People were trying to do it, but this time for sure for a certain objective.
Exactly, and ladies and gentlemen, I keep on saying that, that with this government, I feel that, that Pakistan is actually going in the right direction, where Pats are actually ordering their, what do we call them, their ID cards probably, and there's a different name to it as well. So they order it online and they get it in 2 or 3 days time as well. So the processes are getting easier. And even in the index of, how easy it is getting to do business over in Pakistan, Pakistan's actually achieved quite a lot. Not just that, even if we talk about in the index of normalcy, Pakistan is on number 3, imagine, post-COVID. So these are the things which we really need to appreciate, and there's a lot of effort which has been brought, a lot of people have been brought together so that everybody gets to represent their own particular area. And such a method was actually adopted by the incumbent government, where they wanted to have a youth council where all the youngsters kind of come together, get together, and they represent their areas and the problems of that particular area so that they can have a resolve with that, or they can find a solution for that. So I believe it's good. This is where you would actually say that, that the government is actually working on the grassroots level. Imagine picking up a guy, a youngster, from one of the areas of adopted as the member of the youth council as well.
Amazing.
So we are lucky that we've been joined by 2 members of the youth council. Now, on number 1, we have Mr. Raja Saad Saab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Shahzad.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. No matter what happens, you're never going to get wet and in the rain. Wow, that's just beautiful. Moving alongside Raja Saad Saab, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by Ishtiyaq Hussain Saab, who actually happens to be the member of Youth Council. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So one by one, what I want you to is make sure that you kind of tell us that where are you from, how did you become a member of the Youth Council, and what problems will you be representing or presenting?
Thank you, Shahzad, for the introduction. Yes, we became the members of National Youth Council, and yesterday we had the oath ceremony. We had the oath ceremony with Mr. Asad Umar, Mr. Usman Dar, and then we met President of Pakistan. Wow. Basically this was the need of, Pakistan, because this government has been doing things for the youth, about the youth, Yes. And then there are the representatives of the youth which are coming from the grassroots level.
Exactly.
So this was the idea of Prime Minister Imran Khan, that he personally wanted to do that, to bring people on the basis of merit.
All right.
Not from his own party or something like that.
Right.
We are, most of us are not from supporting from the political
So you
background.
didn't vote for PTI, that's what you were saying.
No, I'm saying
Well,
that.
now you've said it.
No, I'm saying that most of us didn't.
All
So
right.
we're not supporting
That's
the political
wonderful,
party.
which is why we love this government.
Yeah, and that's how we are still selected on the basis of merit. So this is a very great initiative, I think.
So when we say you're selected on the basis of merit, how were you eligible?
Or what was the merit?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, so basically they were saying people who have represented Pakistan on international level and who have done things for Pakistan. So
Yeah.
basically, in my introduction, I am from Azad Kashmir,
Okay.
from a very small, underprivileged village